It's time for the Daily Planet podcast show. So sit back, relax, and give us a go. Scott and Matt and maybe a guest, undertaking an epic pod quest. We're gonna ramble on about movies and books and television and directors and film festivals and this really long list of stuff that I know nothing about, but they gave it to me and they really wanted me to read through it. And that's all I can really say about it, but it's gonna be great. Okay, start the show.
Hello and welcome to the Daily Planet podcast, your weekly podcast for all things movies, TV, books, and anything else we feel like talking about. My name is Scott Daly and I am your host, and I am not joined as usual by my co-host Matt Freeman because, like last week, Matt is on podcast paternity leave, but I am joined by his temporary replacement host, James Gentry. Welcome back, James.
Hey, everybody. Thanks a lot for having me back, Scott. Always good to be here.
Of course. And we are here, James, today to talk about Game of Thrones Season 6, because it ended on Sunday. And you and I have been pretty divisive about this episode. There were a lot of things we liked and a lot of things we did not. But we brought someone else on the podcast who has a more positive opinion of the season to kind of balance us out. That would be my sister, Cyndee Daly. Welcome, Cyndee.
Hi.
I am really interested to see what you think about this season, and am really excited to tell you that all your opinions are wrong.
No, yours are.
Welcome to the podcast.
Thanks.
All right. So we will get into Game of Thrones in a second, but before we did that, I wanted to touch on news because it's been a couple weeks since we've done news, because last week was our Kryptonian collection for Raising Arizona, which got in. It was very exciting. But when we do those, we don't do news, so got some catching up to do. The first thing I wanted to talk about with you guys was something that happened a couple weeks ago that I think everyone knows about now, is the very tragic and terrible death of Anton Yelchin, the actor. This happened, I think it was 2 Sundays ago. I don't know about you guys, this hit me really hard, way harder than I expected it to. Gentry, I know you had seen Green Room, a film in which he is absolutely magnificent in. And this is an actor, I felt like he was just starting to get into stride. He's most famous for his role as Chekhov in the Star Trek reboots, but
yeah,
he's also just an actor that, like, in any movie he was in, he was great. Even there were bad movies, like the Fright Night remake. I don't know if you ever saw that with Colin Farrell. That was it was a terrible movie. Anton Yelchin was great in it.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely, Scott. No, I was very bummed out. This actually kind of hit me like as hard, or maybe like harder than Heath Ledger. I'm not sure why. Maybe it's because he's been around for such a long time. I mean, not frequent, but in the movies that I've seen that he's in, I tend to just remember, maybe because I've seen him a lot, but going as far back as Alpha Dog or like Hearts in Atlantis. I mean, like all these movies, he was like super young. And yeah, he just had so much talent. The Green Room experience was wonderful. And, the Q&A after, I actually filmed some of it. And, it's just crazy to think about how quickly, someone so young and talented and from what I hear was pretty kind and, in love with film and always studying film. And I was just so excited to see what he had to offer. And yeah, it's just very sad.
Yeah, like I have no doubt in my mind that he would have been one of the next great actors.
Yeah.
I mean, he was already kind of there, but I mean, he would have had just this fascinating and wonderful career, and it's really tragic. It's going to be weird. Like, I'm excited for Star Trek, but it's going to be weird. Like, it's going to
be so strange.
Paint it with this really weird.
Yeah, I don't know. It's like if like Alpha Dog or something was on, like I don't know. Like, yeah, I would probably tear up a little bit.
See, that's Alpha Dog's another movie that it really wasn't a good movie.
No.
But Anton Yelchin was so good in it. Like, he's so good. Like, he's the emotional anchor of the film, and he just pulls it off so well.
He does. Yeah, and absolutely. Yeah.
So that's, rest in peace, Anton Yelchin.
Yes. Rest in peace.
The good thing, I guess, is that, his career as it was is immortalized. We're always going to be able to return to his films and appreciate his work and all that. Cyndee, did you want to say anything? Sorry, I kind of.
Sadly, I don't know who that is.
Oh well.
I know who it is now because I've read the news. I mean, I saw the Star Trek movies. That's about all I can say.
Yeah. No, not. I mean, I brought it up when I had to pick up my best friend and his wife from the airport the day that he passed or whatever, and they were like, "What's wrong, man?" I was like, "Man, I'm really bummed. This actor I'm a huge fan of just passed away." And I told them the name, and they were like, "I'm sorry, man. Like, no offense, I'm not really sure who that is."
Yeah, well, he didn't. I mean, he didn't have.
They've also never seen Star Trek, and
Yeah, well,
that's what most people have seen, I guess. I don't know. Jonathan's seen Alpha Dog. Like, he just didn't remember. He couldn't remember. Like, he remembers obviously Justin Timberlake, but no one remembers a kid. You know.
Yeah, I mean, he didn't have your normal career, right? I mean, he
of course not.
He picked indie movies. He was a lover of film, so he didn't pick.
Absolutely. He
didn't want to go the route of big blockbuster movies. I mean, he did the Star Trek stuff, but that's still he was a relatively minor role in all those. But he wanted to make films. Like he picked projects that had interesting characters that he wanted to flesh out and experience. And Green Room is officially on VOD today, as of today, I think. So,
oh, wonderful.
If you didn't catch that one in the theaters, I strongly recommend it. It is probably, I think, still number one on my best movies of 2016 list so far that I'm keeping in my head. I love that movie so much, and it's great, and you should watch it.
Will do.
So, okay, the next item I want to talk about is one that's a little bit happier. Aaron Sorkin of The West Wing is teaching an online screenwriting class. For only $90, you can join this class and 5+ hours of video lessons, help with writing screenplays, exercises, all this stuff by one of the best screenwriters I've ever seen in my entire life. So that's a really cool opportunity. I haven't signed up for it yet, but I'm really thinking I will, just because I just want to watch the videos and hear him talk about the craft of screenwriting. I would just love to hear that.
Yeah.
Just don't take his advice on how to write female characters.
That's fair. He does have issues with female characters. I'm rewatching The West Wing right now, and I'm noticing that quite a lot, actually.
Does he just like teach it? Is it just like a one-way stream, or?
Yeah, it's video. I'm not sure all the details of it. I mean, he recorded videos. I mean, it's not like you're going to be submitting your screenplays to Aaron Sorkin and he's going to read them and give you comments. That's not going to happen. That's crazy. But yeah, I mean,
VIP chance.
It's video lectures from him that I'm fascinated to listen to. So I think I'm going to do it. $90. I mean, it's not that expensive, all things considered.
Yeah.
So I don't know. That's cool. We'll include the link to that in the show notes if anyone listening wants to participate in that, or maybe buy me an entry. That'd be great. If anyone out there wants to spend $90 on me, I'd love you forever.
Let's all contribute to Scott's education. Let's do it. Hey, I'm in.
All right. The next thing I wanted to talk about is Star Wars: The Force Awakens. Gentry, James Cameron didn't like this movie.
Oh. This is news?
Well, it came out today. It's funny.
He didn't really like it?
He did not. But it's funny because, when you're in the film industry, you can't really be completely candid about your opinions on things. He even mentions that in his quote that I have right here. I don't want to say too much about the film, as I have a lot of respect for J.J. Abrams. When you start out your sentence with that, it's not going to a good places. But I gotta say, I think George's 6 films had more innovative visual imagination. And this film was more of a retrenchment to things you had seen before and characters you had seen before.
Yikes. So he just didn't like it because there wasn't much in it that was original, I guess?
Yeah. So, we did a talk, Gentry, after, I think a month after that film came out, where we all got together and talked about it.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've had a chance to revisit the film since then. I've watched it again.
I actually haven't.
It doesn't hold up, man. I don't like it. I don't like Force Awakens anymore. I really don't.
Really?
Yeah, I was kind of shocked at how much it was just not an enjoyable experience for me. Like, I don't think it's a good movie.
7 months later?
Yeah.
Oh no. Is it that? Okay, we'll continue. I mean, just give me a couple of reasons.
I just don't think the story is very good. I don't think the characters act.
I mean, it is.
None
Yeah.
of the character actions are earned in any way. It's like the movie's driving completely on what you know from the previous films. It doesn't define anything for itself. It's J.J. Abrams, so it's exciting in the moment. And he designs films like that. They're fun rides, but you think about them at all, and everything just kind of falls apart. And
Yeah.
I'm hopeful for episode 8 because Ryan Johnson is a director I really respect, and he really does character very well.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, I would give it a rewatch, and I think you'll be kind of surprised at your feelings on it.
Yeah. I mean, I'm definitely excited for episode 8, and I think it's in good hands. But yeah, no, it's kind of shocking. Not gonna lie. I mean, 7 months later.
I mean, it's certainly better than the prequels. I mean,
Sure, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, right. I can't. We can't sit here and actually. But yeah, no, I'm gonna give it a rewatch and see. I mean, it wasn't the most. It wasn't what was memorable about 2015. That's for sure.
No.
Yeah. It was Star Wars returning, but yeah. I guess maybe that's the case for it not having as much of an impact as we thought.
Yeah. Cyndee, did you ever see it?
I did. I saw it like a month ago. It was okay. I've never been that into Star Wars, so.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No. I mean, I think the original 3 are great, but it's not that good of a movie. I want, once Matt is back, I want all 4 of us that did the original podcast to get together and do a
rewatch
X amount of months later discussion. Because I think we kind of hinted at that in that podcast, that we felt that maybe the universal acclaim for this thing wouldn't hold up.
I feel like we definitely discussed it, but I don't know if we came to an actual. I don't know if we predicted anything.
Yeah, I think it was too soon after it came out to predict anything with any kind of accuracy. But I think it'd be fun to have a conversation.
Yeah, that would be fun.
All right. So the last thing I wanted to talk about was box office news. This is fun for me. I don't know if it's fun for anyone else. But Independence Day Resurgence opened last week and didn't do that great. Opened at $41 million domestically, which for
Ouch.
a big budget movie like that really is very America specific. Like you talk about Warcraft and how that did well in China. That's a movie that is kind of built to have international appeal. Independence Day, by its very nature, is an America movie.
Oh, absolutely.
So it opening poorly in America, not a good sign.
It's going against Dory, right?
Yeah. Finding Dory was number 1 for the second week in a row. It actually made more money last weekend than all the others, the other in the top 5 combined, I think. So
plus the horror fans are occupied.
That's true.
And there's still other kids and families that are probably seeing Ninja Turtles.
Yeah, for some reason.
So yeah, it doesn't surprise me.
The big surprise of the weekend, though, was The Shallows, which opened at $16.8 million, which is a lot of money for a low-budget horror film featuring a shark. It did way better than expected, and I think it's gonna be one of those movies that ends up pretty good because I think it's gonna have legs because most people coming out of it are very positive about it. And I will talk about that more at the end of the podcast because I want
really
to talk
quickly,
about
Scott.
that movie.
Do you by chance know how much the budget was?
No. Very, very low budget.
We'll look it up. Well, cool. Sounds good.
Yeah. So let's move on then, and let's talk about Game of Thrones because season 6 ended. Gentry, you, me, and Matt for the past 10 weeks have met up and had a conversation every week where we broke down each episode and talked about what we thought was good and what we thought was bad. So before we get into the whole season, because Sunday's episode was so packed with stuff, it was an extra long episode that
sure was.
Didn't really waste a minute. What did you think of the season finale? Is it your favorite finale? Was your overall opinion on it?
That's actually a really pretty good question if that's the angle we're going with in terms of finales, because I was thinking about it, like they're always kind of not, like the epilogue of the end of the season is usually like left hanging for many of our characters. And I don't know, maybe it's just because we're so far into it and it's all new that this seems like there was a lot of stories closed, a lot of stuff that was tied up.
Yeah, well, like the traditional model for a Game of Thrones season
it changed.
Is episode 9 is the big bombastic episode,
which is still the case,
which was still true this year. But then, in episode 10, it's normally more of a slower paced epilogue, setting everything up for next year thing.
Right.
That was not the case. They took big stuff in episode 9 and just carried into a lot more big stuff.
Yeah.
So it was a little surprising. So,
I mean, I guess maybe it's not necessarily my favorite. I would say maybe the John last year's episode had a little more, I would say, well, we also knew what was coming. But in terms of like moving me, I would say last year's was better in that way. But this year's was definitely like, I mean, just blockbustery in terms of what happened, and so much literal change actually occurred, especially with our King's Landing group. And I mean, it's a huge pivot for the whole show in the direction of Westeros for characters like Arya and Daenerys. So yeah, I mean, it definitely has its impact, but I don't know if it's my favorite. I don't think it is.
All right. Cyndee, what did you think of episode 10? Because you were the only one who hasn't gotten to share their opinion on this site so far.
I'm pretty sure it's my favorite episode of Game of Thrones ever.
Wow.
And probably my favorite episode of TV ever.
That's bold.
And not saying like everything about it was perfect, but it was so good and it was so satisfying. And I don't know, just so much happened. Like, I was on a high after I watched this episode. I couldn't sleep for like 3 hours.
Wow.
I mean,
I finished at 11 o'clock.
I will say that the first 15 minutes were probably some of my favorite television ever as well. Like, it's definitely up there in terms of that. The sept, scene with the wildfire was pretty spot on. In every way I can think of, culminating in Tommen's suicide. But
everything in King's Landing was just perfect. It was amazing.
Yeah, we talked about this a little bit in our discussion this week. Yeah, the King's Landing stuff, you're absolutely correct, was incredible. Like, I didn't get as crazy about the whole battle that happened in episode 9, the Battle of the Bastards. I liked it, but I wasn't like crazy, oh my god, this is the best filmmaking I've ever seen type stuff.
Yeah.
King's Landing, though, that was
mostly because of the story.
Yeah, King's Landing was incredible filmmaking. I mean, I can't emphasize enough. I get a lot of flack for making fun of the show at times, but
it kind of felt like its own show, which I think says a lot.
See, I don't. I think that's what made it so good. Is it was so stylistically wonderful, but at the same time felt at home within the world that they had created.
Well, I think that's kind of what I was trying to like. What I mean is that it feels like what we have become, like what we've come accustomed to. And I don't know, maybe like, I mean, the acting is good in all of in the whole series. Like I don't think there's really necessarily any bad acting going on. But in terms of the story, like you're right, that's what it feels like at home. And maybe that's kind of what I mean when I say a different show.
Yeah, and I think this is
compared to like all the Stark kids,
I think this is another example of why I don't think spoilers matter, because I think Cersei blowing up the Sept was something that was telegraphed so obviously, in my opinion, that like it was not a surprise that it happened. I also knew that Tommen was going to die that way. I had read a spoiler.
You knew he was going to die that way?
Yeah, there was a spoiler in a Reddit thread that I had read.
How?
They leaked production stuff.
Oh.
Dang, so you knew he was committing suicide?
Yeah, I knew that was going to happen.
I'm so glad you didn't tell me that.
Yeah.
But it doesn't, like, that's my whole point, is it didn't matter because it was just done so well and so perfectly.
Maybe
I didn't
for
care.
you. For me, the suspense is really important. I mean, I watched the episode twice, and the second time it wasn't as good. It was still good, but wasn't as good as the first time.
I watched it twice too, and I still loved every second of Kindling.
Well, question for Cyndee: At what point did you realize that he was going to jump out the window?
When he takes off his crown and steps away. We were thinking like he's gonna jump out the window, and he did like a second later.
And that's because of the framing. The framing led you to that moment. By sticking on the window, it showed that the important part of the scene is the open window and not Tommen himself.
It's pretty wonderful.
It was perfect.
Yeah,
and
the timing of him exiting and returning was also perfect. And just like how quiet it was of him just falling.
Right.
Yeah. Perfect.
And there was no hesitation. Like he didn't think about it. Like it was just it was just so wonderfully casual, I think is the word I used to describe it. It wasn't dramatic. It was just so simple and yet shocking at the same time.
Yeah.
It was so well done. I loved it.
I love the music. I've been listening to it.
Yeah, the music was great. And Gentry, I think you mentioned that they don't use piano very much.
Yeah.
And I think you're right about that. They don't. But here, it really worked. It really, really worked.
It was fantastic. It made me kind of like think of the whole series in a matter of minutes, you know? Yeah. And it was very, I mean, like, you know, like that coupled with Lena Headey, like I've never been so impressed with her not doing anything, you know, than I have like in this season. Like the looks on her face, I feel like are chapters in themselves. And it's wonderful. It's amazing to see, and it's scary. It's scary. I mean, like I don't think I've ever actually been afraid of her as Cersei until this season. She definitely took it to a very dark level.
Yeah, I think when we look back on the show once it all is said and done, pulling off her character and her descent into madness in a believable and understandable way. My girlfriend loves Cersei and thinks is her favorite character. I think we will remember them pulling that off as one of the greatest triumphs of the show, because it would be so easy to mess up this character and make her simply a Ramsay-esque bad guy, or just a person you're obviously telegraphing as you're supposed to feel sympathy for. But the show constantly skirts the line between those two things, and it does so masterfully. And it's the strength of the writing, it's the strength of Lena Headey's performance, it's everything coming together, and it's great. It's really great.
Yeah, I had her performance as one of my best things of this season. I think she's gotten better as the show's gone on. And I wanted to ask you guys, because I talked to somebody who said that the character of Cersei in the book is not as interesting or as complex, and that she's brought a lot to the character that wasn't in the book. But I haven't read the book, so books.
Gentry, you probably remember better than I do. I think she is and she isn't. She's kind of more clearly insane in the books.
Yes. I wouldn't say she's as complex. She's interesting, and not interesting in like, oh, like I want to know, like, you know, there's nothing like mysterious or like fantastical. There's only her, you know, one prophecy that she gets as a child, and then her basically going off the deep end, in every way possible while making some of the worst decisions, for the people around her. So yeah, I would not say like as complex in terms of, I mean, that's the thing is you do get all these looks and stuff in the text, but all the while, like there's really never a moment where you feel bad, other than maybe when she's, you know, holding her, you know, dying son in her arms.
But that's a really good point of difference too. In the show, they very obviously show us that she is fully aware of how much of a monster Joffrey is.
Absolutely.
In the books, that's not made as transparent. She is kind of different, blind, and in her adoration of her son. So if there is some level of understanding or acknowledgement of his monstrosity, book Cersei does not show it.
No, and
I think allowing that to exist in the show does increase the complexity of her character. And because I mean, what do you do? Like, I have no idea what it would be like to know that your child, the thing that you love unconditionally, is also this terrible, terrible human being.
Absolutely.
Yeah. It's like as a parent, your worst fear is something bad happening to your child. And for me, like, my second worst fear is my child turns into a monster.
Yeah.
Like, because, my understanding of sociopaths is it's not something you can fix. It's just something you're born with.
Yeah.
And having to raise and love this person unconditionally and have them turn into a monster, like, that's horrifying. Yeah. And I remember her talking with Jamie, I think it was Jamie, about how, Joffrey was a jolly little baby and she never would have known he was going to turn out like this and everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of book people didn't like those changes. But I did. I liked that inclusion a lot.
Yeah, I liked it too.
And I think that it all supports and like leads up. And my biggest thing about why I think the King's Landing stuff worked, and I mentioned that in our write up, is everything made sense as far as who these characters were and their motivation. Everything led up to this point in a very organic and character driven kind of way. The only thing I had trouble really believing was how Marjorie picks up on it so quickly, that something's going wrong. But they also spent a lot of time showing how clever Marjorie is, so I can kind of buy into that.
Like, I guess, you know what, and I mean that's fair, right? Obviously, it's kind of like all of a sudden she like has like this danger alarm go off type of thing. But at the same time, like, the fact that, I feel like, when has there ever been another trial, or as far as I can tell, like, reference in the show, there's not necessarily ever been another trial where the prisoner just doesn't show up. And she is very smart, and, maybe because of these little secrets between her and the High Sparrow, and Tommen, some of which we get, some that we don't, maybe it's possible that he ends up she just already knows that he's a little more naive and not thinking that anything's wrong, and it's because of that she realizes that something is wrong, because she knows how basically devious the Lannisters can be. But I don't know. Personally, my only problem was I wouldn't believe it for a second that, I mean, Pycelle was one thing, 'cause he's an old, kind of a dummy sometimes, but, Lancel following some random child into a cave when his only mission is to go straight to Cersei and grab her, and bring her forward. Like, I just didn't understand that.
Yeah, that whole discovery of the wildfire made for good drama, because it's
But what would have been just as good? What would have been just as easy? Like, super simple. 2 Lannister guards abduct Lancel, take him down to the cave or the tunnel, like, throw him down there, just lock it up or whatever, and Lancel's still, like, instead of being stabbed, once and falling down, like, you're literally can't move, he sees the flame and runs straight for it, and is still too late, and it still blows up. I mean, I thought that would have been just as good.
Well, why would they?
Or better.
Why would they do that? I don't know. I understand why they did it for dramatic purposes.
To make sure that it ignites somehow, basically. I don't know. Like, why? I mean, you don't have to show these little birdies, like, I guess to show that Qyburn is very powerful. So, but, like, why would you just look at a random, like, kid and be like, oh, I have to follow that person?
I don't know.
I think he told him the king had summoned him.
Yeah, but would the king send a little dwarf child?
I have no idea. It was weird. I don't know why.
Well, and Pycelle's like, oh, is the king here? It's like, dude, this is a dungeon. Why would the king be here? It just, like, that's what I thought was kind of silly. Like, sillier than, like, Marjorie kind of, like, realizing what was happening. But I guess I can see either way. I mean, it didn't affect anything.
Yeah, I think the real disappointing part to me was they seemed to be setting up that Marjorie was playing some kind of long con.
Right.
And by just blowing her up, we didn't really get to see the end of that. And I was very interested in seeing what she was planning.
Not necessarily. Maybe Olenna tells us.
I don't know. I doubt it. I think they're just, I think by killing her, they're basically just saying, we don't know what to do with this character anymore, so we're just gonna blow her
later.
up.
Yeah.
Well, if they kill off the High Sparrow, then like her long con becomes pointless. So
yeah. Well, and they seemed like they were setting up something with him as well. What his overall plan was.
Yeah.
And that's
I thought we were going to get to see like more hypocrisy from him.
Right, because it seemed like they were setting up like he once was a guy lured into living a terrible life because he, just like everyone else, quested for power, and he was putting himself up as this pious, innocent man who didn't really want any of that anymore, but secretly he was just doing this because he did, in fact, just crave power.
You know, what I think is, and this is just a theory, it doesn't have any proof behind it, but I think that he was genuine, and then he got a taste of power, and he liked it, and that's what's motivating him now.
Yeah, that's very possible. Because they did take time to show the scene between he and Marjorie where he was like basically telling her, you gotta bang your husband because he needs kids, which is a very, what does that have to do with the faith at all? That's just him trying to cement the legacy of the seven being the central.
That's forcing the will of the gods. Like, it's not usually how they do it.
But okay, so I want to move on to the season as a whole, and I know like we could spend the entire episode talking about episode 10 as itself, but I want to talk about the season as a whole because as much as I love this King's Landing stuff, here's what I think happened in season 6. I think the writers had some really great ideas at the beginning. They had some really good ideas for stuff to do in the middle, and they had a really good idea for a strong way to end it. And then they had nothing for every little piece in between. So all they're doing in the majority of the scenes this year is just kind of treading water. Not much happens in this season. And I don't mean just events-wise, I mean character-wise. Characters don't really change very much, and if they do, it's all at once in big moments. It's not character growth over the course of episodes and seasons. Jon Snow dies, gets reborn, but he, as a character, doesn't seem like what. First of all, why did that happen? From a character perspective,
we don't know.
What does that change in him besides the fact that, oh, fuck the Night's Watch, I'm done with that.
Yeah, I think that's important.
Well, but it would be if it was Jon saying, fuck my responsibility, I'm done with that. But he's not really saying that. He left the Night's Watch and went and took back Winterfell because he knew that in the war that was coming, they needed a unified North. So he's not shirking his responsibility. He just understands that his responsibility requires him to do something else, and that's why he abandons his post in the Night's Watch.
But being dead allowed him to do that. If he hadn't died, would he have abandoned the Night's Watch?
I
don't think so.
I mean, of course not. He would not have abandoned the Night's Watch. He wasn't going to do it in the book. But
well, in the book, he was about to ride out, right? He. I mean, the night before.
We don't know for
killed,
sure.
He was going to leave to help down south.
I mean, he decides it, but like, yeah, I mean, it's like the beginnings of his. I mean, okay, yeah. So I guess he decides he's going to. So I mean, maybe he was. The thing is, we don't get any letter in this version, so
yeah, we do.
Until we get the letter after he's alive again.
Yeah, well, and that's like.
So he's not dead yet.
The problem
he's just going to defend the wall.
The problem I have with Jon Snow is the problem that a lot of the central protagonists in these fantasy-type stories have. They don't really seem to have any flaws, and therefore they can't really grow. Like, there's space for the fact that he's a bastard and, like, is dealing with that. But, like, Jon, throughout the course of this season, I mean, he's kind of passive in everything that happens to him. He's passive in his resurrection. He's passive in basically the entire battle. Everyone else is helping him out.
He's pretty passive towards Melisandre as well.
Yeah, he makes a dramatic decision that is just putting off the decision of actually killing her. Just, I don't want to go away.
Right.
He's just, like, he's supposed to be, like, and it's very possible that the show and George are just completely faking us out, and he is not the hero of this story. But if he is, he needs to be a more active participant in the events that are unfolding around him. And
yeah, I know that there was a couple. I mean, there's a theory, or a couple floating around, and saying that it wasn't actually him and it was someone else that had inhabited his body, and he was actually in Ghost, and that's why Ghost didn't go south.
Yeah,
and-
that's not what they're doing.
No, I know, obviously not. But the reason why they're saying these things was just what you said. He's how passive he was, like how dead his look was, and in terms of these decisions that are being made and riding like straight into danger. The decisions that the non-John decisions that he makes to basically, basically just go straight in and die. But then it was quickly put down.
Yeah, I mean, and I don't want to be the type of person that says, well, in the books, this.
No, I'm not. Yeah,
but,
I'm trying to think about the books right now.
In the books, and
Scott,
and this book hasn't come out yet, but I guarantee Jon Snow is going to be resurrected in the books too. That's going to happen. I don't know if it's going to happen the same way. I don't know what's going to go on, but you can guarantee that in the books there will be some sort of consequence to him and his character for that happening. And I haven't seen that in the show, which makes me think that the entire purpose of the death and resurrection was just to put a cliffhanger. And again, we're reviewing something that's still in process. It could very well be that his death is paramount to his ability to save the world eventually, but I don't know. I haven't seen it.
Sure.
And they had 10 episodes that didn't show it, so.
And that's one of the frustrating things about this season is they didn't seem to make much of a big deal about his death and rebirth at all to anybody. I mean, except for in that episode. The immediate response is, holy shit, what just happened?
And then everyone's just kind of over it.
Like, Melisandre, this was basically a reach that I just told you to do, and it worked, and I'm a little confused. It was very immediate, but none of it flows out of that one episode. And that's kind of what's frustrating, is we don't get, when you don't have a lot of, source material, or I should say just a lot of, story to go off of, right? If you're going to drag ass and really dilute some of these stories for the sake of time and for getting through the season, to these bigger episodes. This is where, you can actually kind of examine some of the, some of the human psyche really when it comes to, life and death, or being unconscious and obviously, waking up to realize that you're this type of person or whatever. And I just thought that they kind of dropped that, or they almost just inserted it because they know that it happens in the books, which is frustrating. I mean, it's pointless. Why even do it?
I haven't read the books, but my perspective is, what happened to him changed his loyalty even more. Like, he'd already started to be more concerned about the White Walkers, but I feel like it changed his loyalty from being towards the Night's Watch and to basically stopping the White Walkers and also reuniting with his sister and being Lord of Winterfell again, which he had given up.
Yeah, but see, my argument with that would be, I think that's where his character was heading anyway. I mean, before his death. He lets in the wildlings because he understands that the greater good is more important than an ancient battle between the wildlings and the Night's Watch. He understands that we know what's coming, and we have to fight back against what's coming rather than deal with our stupid bullshit squabbles here. So, I mean, my argument is that's where the character was tracking anyway. And yeah, being stabbed by your brothers kind of pushes you over that ledge a little faster than you might have been in the first place. But, I mean, if a non-resurrected Jon Snow finds his sister riding up to Castle Black and doing the same thing that happened in this season, I think he still acts the same way. I think he does everything the same, death or no death.
Coming from I'm just going to pretend that I only have seen the show. If I'm only watching the show and I'm watching the season, I'm going to probably think that Jon is a little bit boring now, because really what happens is they just kill him and then resurrect him as kind of like this mythical hero Melisandre was wrong about Stannis. I mean, is that kind of where your head was going, like Cyndee, like when you're seeing Stannis fail, and Melisandre kind of gets the news, and she's like, "Oh shit, I was wrong," and then all of a sudden it's like, Davos is coming to her, "Hey, I need you to try this on Jon." It works, so Jon's all of a sudden alive. But yeah, nothing's really changed. Like he's still pretty much the same consistent, normal guy, except I guess he's just now alive again, so he's the hero, I guess. I don't know. I would be a little frustrated because we don't get any like I mean, like, not even a slight explanation as to what the fuck just happened, basically. And all these wildlings like are just like, "All right, that's cool. Let's head south. We're gonna help." Like, what? If I was a wildling, I'd be like, "Oh my god, you are the devil. That lady is the devil, and this is her demon child." I mean, it's like these people have been following the old gods, and like, sure, I get it. The Red Woman has been there for a little while. Stannis was there. The Queen was there. She's batshit crazy. Blah blah blah. But like, the old gods are so strong. Like, it just surprises me that, and I get it. They only have so much time to really think about the script and really kind of think about where everyone's head's at, or just like where the culture is or the differences in the culture. But it's pretty stark difference. And when something like that happens because of Red R'hllor, or so we think, so far from what we've seen, that's a pretty huge deal. So big of a deal that I feel like, it was just kind of left on the floor after that, and it's like, all right, let's move towards the war now. I don't know. Maybe that's just me looking into it a little too much, but
Well,
Yeah, I mean, we don't know much about wildling culture in the show. We don't. It's
true.
I do find it hard to believe that they would die for him, fighting this battle with Ramsay, who they don't know or care about.
Yeah.
But
They sure as hell don't like the Starks.
yeah.
I mean, technically, right?
So here's my question about this, and I think you've mentioned Melisandre a few times, and I think she's the linchpin on why I think this is kind of confusing and doesn't necessarily work. Her character in this season is reeling from basically knowing she was wrong. She
right.
said Stannis was the one. She burned his daughter alive to grant him a victory, and was totally wrong. He's dead.
Yeah, I did like her parts, by the way, for what it's worth. Like,
Yeah.
I liked what she went through, minus the Davos late reaction. Keep going.
Yeah, but so she moves from this place of she's doubting herself, she's doubting her religion, she's doubting everything she's ever believed in her entire life. Then she brings a man back from the dead. But then after that point, she kind of reverts to her point of doubt. Like that whole scene between Davos and her at the end of episode 10 was great. But she's also in this place where, yeah, I'm beating myself up because I was wrong and I don't know what to believe in anymore. It's like, yes, you fucking do. You just brought a man back from the dead. Everything your God has said just happened because you brought a man back from the dead. Like, she should be even more, like, convinced in her convictions, and, like,
absolutely,
like, she should be, this is it. There should be no doubt. There should be no regret. There should be everything has led to this moment, and I just never felt that from her. They seem like they wanted, and to be fair, that's an interesting place to take her character, is this character of faith doubting her faith, but I just don't think it worked. Like, there's two contradictory things going on there.
Yeah, there is.
I like the change in her character. I don't know. Like, she thought she saw all the signs before about Stannis, so I understand why she's not sure.
She brought a man back from the dead.
So what? Like, that doesn't prove anything. The other guy keeps bringing people back from the dead.
I guess that is a good point. Well, in terms of the fact that she did, like in the show, she does see Thoros bring Beric back from the dead, but still,
that
that's
guy
still
he's
that's
a guy.
still a very big deal.
It's a huge deal.
Her reaction, or like her lack of reaction, it's almost just like, okay, I'm gonna try all this crazy witchcraft stuff, and it's gonna happen, and holy shit, oh my god, nothing happened, and then it's like, oh shit, it actually worked. Wait, and then it's like, oh, okay.
Let's pretend for a second that
leave that there.
Let's pretend for a second that you were a Christian, and had some terrible shit happened in your life. You've been praying all your life, and someone died and you lost kind of faith in your God. And then Jesus Christ himself appears in front of you and helps you perform some sort of miracle and says, hey, I'm totally real. You were totally right. I exist. God exists. Everything you've read is true. You would not be doubting your faith anymore.
She didn't see the Lord of Light.
She brought a man back from the dead.
Yeah, but
by
that other
praying
guy
to her Lord.
Is always bringing people back from the dead, or that
He
one
has brought
guy
one person back from the dead.
Okay, so is
by
that
praying
guy,
to the same God.
whatever Azor is that no?
It doesn't matter. They performed a impossible feat by praying to a God.
It just didn't match in all places. That's just, I mean, I don't know. When they were writing like her reactions, I guess, or the follow up to what to him coming back, they just didn't have a lot for her to do. You know, I mean, she's just pretty much sad the whole season and just down.
If like she thinks that the God demanded her to do all these horrible things that she did for Stannis, and he let whatever God let her give birth to a shadow and murder Renly. I know.
Yeah.
I know it's the same God.
Oh.
So obviously she's experienced power from this God before, and she thinks that he wanted her to burn this child at the stake. So maybe she's questioning if the God is truly good.
But I don't. If that's true, then I don't think the show went there in a sufficient manner. It had nothing to do with external doubt. It was all about internal doubt, and it shouldn't have been. She brought a man back from the dead. The man was dead. She did some stuff. Man came back. Like that's a huge deal. And just because one other person in the history of the show has done it does not diminish the huge dealness of it.
It does to me.
Okay.
Well, I mean, and really, I just thought they could have spent a little more time on it. That was really my point earlier on, and kind of cut a little bit more of the traveling and trying to get all these other lords that we've never seen really before or really care about, that really don't even really know Jon or Sansa or Davos, and shorten that up a little bit. And kind of, I think they should have flip-flopped it. Well, I think that would have been fun.
That goes to another overall thought I had, which this season, more than any of the other ones, felt really choppy to me. Episode 10 excluded, because I think episode 10 actually cuts between the different scenes in a very fluid and logical manner. But the season itself felt like really short scenes that were jumping around to constantly. The cuts felt really abrupt. It didn't seem like the storyline flowed. It just and to be fair, maybe the reason I think this is because up until this point, we've always been able to fill in the blanks with what we know is happening in between the cuts in the book. That's very possible. But all that means to me is that the show has always done this, and it's not been good, and I just never noticed it until now. It doesn't mean that the show suddenly becomes better.
Well, from my perspective, I do feel like they've been covering more plots in each episode. Not the last 2 episodes, but the other episodes. I don't know. I feel like in previous seasons, they stayed in one place for longer.
Yeah.
They're going more places in each episode, and that's what makes it feel choppy. It's like some of the episodes I just felt like we moved each plot a tiny bit. We moved 10 different plots a tiny bit, and no plot a lot.
Yeah, and it's weird to me because at the same, the reasoning for doing that is so you get a feeling of things that are occurring around the same time, right? If you have all these little plots move a tiny bit, it's like the whole world is moving this much in this hour of television. But then they play with time and structure so much that they basically have admitted that these events are not happening concurrently. Like, just with this past episode with Varys basically teleporting between Dorne and Meereen like it was nothing. These events are not happening at the same time. in the Marine storyline, the events of the episode could take place over the course of 4 months, where in the Winterfell storyline, they take place over 4 hours. And these could happen in the same episode, but the times are different. So they don't care about precise timing, and I don't blame them for that. But then they shouldn't be afraid to just tell a story over the course of an episode. Don't be afraid to just cut out a character from an episode or something. We're going to remember who they are by this point. This is season 6. You didn't need to have the little Arya parts that advance the Arya storyline forward nowhere. Just take 3 episodes, and they don't have to be bottle episodes. You don't have to just focus on Arya the whole time, but take some time in the scene. Have a 10-minute section in Bravos or 20-minute section in Bravos that's dealing with her arc. It felt very, very choppy to me, and that pacing hurt, I thought. And again, maybe that's just perception, because
No, I can't explain it near as good as well as you just did, but I'll just say that I agree. Like I don't know how I noticed, but it's definitely there. Everything feels just kind of all over the place and cut up in very, like, because some of the choppiness, like, it doesn't necessarily, it's no dig on the scene itself, right? Some of the scenes are great.
Yeah.
Everything that happens, like I said, in River Run, I really did enjoy. Everything with Jaime and Brienne, I really did enjoy. Some of the Tyrion moments I enjoyed, and but yeah, sometimes it was just like this 7 minutes of this, and then 20 minutes, a Greyjoy scene, out of over here, and then like the episode ends, and then the next show, or the next episode, you'll see like 5 minutes of the Greyjoy, and then you won't see him again for a while. Like it really is just kind of out of place, and it's noticeable.
And maybe this is just a result of the fact that all these separate storylines really don't relate to each other on any kind of specific level.
Also, yeah.
Like, it's much easier to transition from one scene to another where you can show something happens in the north, and then you cut to a scene in the south where they are reacting to the thing that happens in the north that directly affects them. But the story is so segmented, and all these different things happening are going to eventually all come together to relate to each other. But right now, they are completely separate and different. Everything that happens to Arya has no direct effect on what's happening to Jon at all. So when you're cutting between these two groups, there's no way of making a smooth transition, because it's basically like, okay, end scene now, start scene here, and nothing's going to happen in either of these scenes that advances the plot for the other scene. I don't know, maybe.
Well, I mean, and I think part of it, I think they also just kind of got away from some of the characters that I feel like are kind of engraved with some of the story, or that had potential to have a lot more story. Like I thought they should have kept some of the Arya stuff a little more secret, just a little more subtle, like not have as much, because they really did. They actually did a lot. I feel like she had a lot of screen time. Do y'all think she had a lot of screen time this season?
Yeah, but it
overall
didn't go anywhere.
No, that's what I'm saying. But like in time, like quantity, like I feel like it was a decent amount. Like, what if you had like switched that with, say, Littlefinger, right? And then you have Littlefinger, you have maybe a mini Vale story where, he's plotting to do something with that army while slowly positioning them to move north to save Sansa. And then in turn has his conflict with Sansa because he sold her to a monster. And then that conflict, boils on to Jon. So like you could have had all these things and still kept a very important, and I would say, popular in the sense of a lot of people know him, a character like Littlefinger, but then hiding a character like Arya, because you really don't know what. I mean, obviously they weren't 100% clear on what the Faceless Men were, what that story was actually, being cultivated into, and it just ends up, kind of culminating in this kind of silly action scene that I didn't really think was necessary. It make it more of have some moments, like whatever, the montage was fine. Have some moments where you can kind of see her arc moving and training. You can actually see her do a mission or two, maybe 2 missions max. And I thought that would have fit a lot better in terms of the overall pacing of the season. But I guess whatever. That's just my take on those two things.
I wouldn't have liked that because I think Littlefinger is a super boring character that I don't want to see
But
any more of.
But they could have made him fun because they had so much to play with this season. That's the thing. It's all new. Like, I'm just saying, like, you could have done so much more with these. I just feel like you could have done a lot more with someone like him mixed in with the North story than you can just with, like, Arya being in Bravos.
I mean, Littlefinger, his motivation has been clear from the beginning. I really wish in episode 10 when he said, I have one vision I've been moving toward, and he says, me on the Iron Throne with you besides me. And I wish Sansa had just said, no shit, everybody knew that. Literally everybody knew that's what you wanted this entire time. We're not stupid. You've been very transparent about your goals.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know.
I was a little bummed out that he said the Iron Throne, to be honest.
I think, Cyndee, I want your opinion.
I was kind of hoping he said something like Harrenhal.
No, he wants to be the most powerful person ever. Cyndee, I want your opinion on the Arya stuff because I pretty much hated it, and I want to see. I think you probably liked it, and I want to know why.
Okay, so I actually liked it last year, like season 5, and when they took it up this year, I don't know, it just got really confusing, especially towards the end, and I wasn't really satisfied with how they concluded it. I actually liked the play within the play. I think a lot of her storyline is full of Shakespeare Easter eggs, one of which is the play within the play. So I enjoyed that. But this conflict with the waif, like, was not satisfying at all. And I really wasn't expecting it to turn out the way it did because to me, like, Jaqen clearly told her that this is what the Faceless Men do. We assassinate people who pay us. That's our job. If you don't do it, you're out. You're gonna die. Like, and he sends the waif after her, and the waif is like the most incompetent Faceless Man ever. Like, I truly,
she really is.
Like, so I thought they were setting this up to be like Jaqen was gonna give the waif the smackdown for being terrible, and it didn't happen. Like, there was a fan theory that I read that Jaqen was pretending to be Arya to trap the waif because she wasn't doing what she was supposed to be doing, which is kill her painlessly. And I thought that was a really cool idea.
That would have been pretty awesome, actually. That would have been wonderful. That would have saved the whole thing.
Yeah. So that's what I was hoping for, and it didn't happen.
There was a decent amount of theories for that whole scene, like Arya, who was Arya, all that stuff. It was exciting. I mean, it was funny to watch. I mean, it was interesting to read. I agree.
But the chase scene was just dumb.
It was so bad.
Stupid. Like,
it was unbelievable. She got stabbed like 3 times.
Well,
like, come on.
And I'm not gonna like that. Like, sometimes in plots, you just toss things away like that. I'm not gonna get all bent out of shape of that, but I just, like, I don't understand the entire point of this seasonal arc. Like, I don't get it. I don't get really what she learned, and I hated the ending in episode 10. I hated it. It's terrible. And I ranted about this.
The timing of it.
I ranted about this for a long time in our discussion because we should not be celebrating the good guys committing violence. It is contrary to the themes of the entire story. It doesn't make sense.
I disagree. I think that's the point. Honestly, is making the viewer question themselves, and also, this is Arya's arc, and this is what she's supposed to be. Like, this is a little girl who was traumatized, who everyone loves, and she's turning into a bloodthirsty killer, and that's her arc. It's always been her arc. Like, she came up with this kill list, season 2, and this is what happens. And the Faceless Man thing, I guess, was just to give her skills to do it. Now, I don't understand why Jaqen let her go to do it. He obviously, he must have known that's what she was going to do. Like, I don't understand. She just walks in there, and he's ordered her death, and she just walks in there and acts like everything's fine and walks out, and he does nothing. Like, that made no sense. But
yeah,
for me, like, the scene made perfect sense of her killing Walder Frey. And I don't know, I thought his sons were involved in the Red Wedding, so I can understand her killing them. And the baking in the pie is another Shakespeare Easter egg, so...
Yeah, but Cyndee, that's a really fucked up thing to do.
It is.
Like, here's the thing. If the point of Arya's storyline is to show what violence and trauma does to a person, and how it creates out of an innocent person a monster, then that scene should not have been played as a moment of triumph. And I watched it again, and you are meant in that scene to say, fuck yes, we got revenge. And that's wrong. Like, they should be playing that scene as, holy shit, look what she did. This isn't good. But it was played as, oh, Arya's back and she's gonna start fucking people up now. Like, I don't think that is following what the theme of the show is. And that has me really worried that we're just gonna be like, and the same thing with Sansa, with her enjoyment of Ramsay's death. Are we making Sansa a monster or are we not? And
Scott, it was just a very subtle smile, okay?
She was happy about dogs eating a human being.
I know, I'm kidding.
I think it's understandable, and I think that's human nature, and it's really interesting because that's how we are. Like, we like watching bad people have bad things happen to them. We like watching violence. Like, it's fake now, but...
Yeah, but okay, then talk about that. Like, there doesn't seem to be any kind of repercussions on these events for the characters. Like, Sansa is going to a dark place. Arya is going to a dark place. But it feels like the show is saying, that's a good thing, they've earned it, like, this is good. And aren't you just as bad as the people you're hating then? Like, do the children of the phrase not have a case to say, this lady did a terrible fucked up thing, she cooked my cousins into a pie and fed it to my uncle or something, like, we want revenge on her, like, and they
do, and I think that's interesting. And, you know, so many things, like, we've gotten better about having villains that are more complex and more interesting, but we're not allowed to see, like, shades of gray in heroes. And the fact that the show does that, to me, is interesting, and I like it.
And I would agree with that is if they showed it as a shade of gray, but they played it as a heroic moment. And that's my problem with it. There was no second in that moment that I was sitting with people who were, like, celebrating it as it was happening, and I don't blame the viewers for that. I blame the show for setting it up as a moment of heroism. I don't know. If that's
so you just weren't a fan of the execution of it.
If that's where we're going with their plot lines, we need to telegraph it better. We need to be clear that, yeah, okay, Arya is getting back at people that have done her and her family wrong, and she's valid in that. But the way she's doing it and the way she's acting is not good, and it needs to be clearly drawn a relation between the things she's done to people and it is just the same kind of stuff that was done to her family. Like, and I don't think it's done a good job of showing that.
The one thing that I guess bothers me, and again, I'm trying to think only show here and not think about her in the books, because I am a huge fan of her in the books. And I do read her chapters very carefully and everything. I guess I just don't like her little smile. Like, I guess I don't like that it does make us seem like it's victorious, or like maybe she is enjoying it. She could be, I guess, maybe, but like, I'm not a fan of the way she like smirks.
Are you talking about Arya?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, she loved every minute of that.
And I didn't like that.
Gentry, she cut a human being up and ground him into a pie.
I agree with like what Cyndee's like. I know where you're coming from, Scott. Like, I agree. Like, that was obviously not the right. It should have been. It would have been cool to see her have a more neutral type of like reaction. But also, like, I wasn't a fan of. I mean, I guess it was a little reference to obviously what we know comes in the book and everything. But I wasn't a fan of that idea, I guess, in the show. I thought it was a little silly just because it's like I just wasn't a fan of the time thing, and I thought it should like if I thought it was a bad timing thing, it would have been good in the intro episode of season 7. So I would say really that's what annoyed me most. Overall, it's just that damn smirk. I'm just like, damn it, that is not fucking Arya. Like, she does not just be smiling like that. But otherwise, yeah, I mean, there was no problem with it. I mean, whatever. Like, Walder had to go at some point, I guess, But damn it would have been such a good. Cyndee, do you think it would have at least been really fun to just see her appear in the first episode of season 7 and do something like that? Like, I feel like that would have made it.
I think it was fine where it was. The first episode of a new season tends to be pretty slow, so
exactly.
It might have been good there.
Yeah, why not a change,
Why does Walder Frey have to go?
I thought they stuffed too much crap into this episode, if anything. Or the last episode. But yeah, I get y'all's points.
Why does Walder Frey have to go? Why does he have to die? Because he did a bad thing to the main character, so he has to be punished?
Because, Scott, they're trimming him up for the last fight.
Well,
they got rid of like 13 actors.
I mean, they already cut him out of the show up until this season. You could just not show him again.
Yeah, well, they also, why did they bring Benjen back for 2 fucking episodes after 5 seasons?
Because Bran's entire storyline is bullshit and doesn't make any sense.
Why did they bring the Red Priestess in for that one episode? Like, I think there's some little Easter eggs or references to the story. I think there's a little bit of fan service. I think there's a lot of not really sure.
Cyndee, Sansa. Do you like Sansa?
Oh yeah. What are your thoughts on her decisions?
Well, I was disappointed that she didn't give Jon a reason for not telling him about Littlefinger. Like, I really thought there could have been good reasons for her to do that. I feel like strategically having the Knights of the Vale come in at the last minute while the Bolton soldiers had their backs turned was a really good battle plan strategically. And it's possible that if she had told him, they would have all been lined up and they could have lost the battle. Like, if she would have told Jon and Jon would have had them included in the beginning when they charged each other, then it's possible they would have lost the battle. But she didn't give that reason, so maybe they didn't actually have a reason. I don't know.
She didn't have a reason, and that's my problem, is it doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense. It's stupid, and if they wanted it to just show how she made a mistake, it doesn't punish her for it, so it was just a complete waste of time. Here's the thing. They didn't give a shit about Rickon at all.
Yeah.
Sansa just waved him away as he's dead already. If you show up with a giant army, including the entire army of the Vale, then maybe you can barter for Rickon's release. If Ramsay is surrounded by enemies in an army that clearly outnumbers him, maybe he'll go, hey, we'll give you your brother back if you let us ride out of here and go back to our castle. Like, there's all these other scenarios that could have happened instead of, we're just not going to tell you at all, and you're going to go blindly charging into a superior force, get completely surrounded and mostly wiped out, and then we're just going to show up in the end to save you because it makes really good drama. Like, if
I don't think that they had more, even with the Knights of the Vale. I don't think they had a superior force.
They absolutely did. The Knights of the Vale is...
It didn't look like it.
The Vale is like a fourth of the realm and hasn't been involved in any of the wars up until this point. They have a full army.
Okay, well, visually, it didn't look like they had many.
You're right. Scott, the big argument is that she caused the death of Rickon because, if Ramsay knows that the Vale has that many, that large of a cavalry or just large of a force in general, they're going to, come up with some kind of a deal, basically, because they would just hole him up in Winterfell and besiege him. But who wants to see that? I don't think
Ramsay ever would have given Rickon back.
Personally, I actually agree with you. I don't think he would have either. But that's kind of the idea, is that, like, look, you're surrounded, we're going to kill you, and all we're asking for is, we're basically having like a hostage swap type of thing.
He's not an idiot. He is monster.
No,
but
he's
not,
not, and that's the whole
stupid.
thing. And Sansa, by not, the thing is she just doesn't give him a reason.
Well, yeah,
She
and
kind of fucks over a bunch of wildlings and a bunch of soldiers, a bunch of people that kind of sacrifice their life, and she's like, "My bad, brother. I should have said something."
yeah, there's no dramatic consequence
just-
to any of that.
It's just great. And John's just like, huh?
It's just
Well, I guess we won.
it's just bad. Like it's
Expensive
bad.
1-1, the last giant.
It's bad. It's not good writing, and I don't understand her character. I don't
Fun to
understand
watch.
her motivations. What does she want at this point? Like, what does she want?
I think that's supposed to be a mystery right now.
Left up in the air. Yeah.
I think that's supposed to be one of the things that's going to be revealed later.
Either she's the biggest mastermind ever, or she's just an idiot. And right now, she seems like she's just an idiot. I don't know. Like,
Y'all are making a really good argument for, them focusing on them. On them should have focused on her and Littlefinger this season.
She seemed like she was happy about Jon being named the King of the North, and if she has this shady plan where she actually is just like Littlefinger, and she learned from him, and now wants to manipulate people into giving herself more power, it seemed like she would have not been happy about that.
I don't know. I think she was happy that it got her to escape Littlefinger. Because if she's not the Queen of the North, then she's not useful to him.
Yeah, I don't think that's gonna get rid of him though.
I don't think it's gonna get rid of him, but like
he doesn't.
His plan was to use her for power.
Yeah, but he doesn't just like her for that reason. He likes her because he's creepy.
He likes her because he's creepy, and he.
Oh yeah, he obviously wants her.
Yeah.
He wants her sexually.
Yes.
But he can't use her for power if she doesn't have any power.
Did you like that they went with the King in the North thing, Cyndee? What did you feel about that? You don't think they should have declared for Sansa instead?
No. I think they need a good military leader right now, and Jon made more sense.
Jon is not a good military leader.
Well, no.
He's better than she is.
She won the battle.
I was a little annoyed, actually. I thought they should have... The King of the North thing, okay, that was fucking cheeseball. They didn't have to do the King of the North. They should have voted her the Queen... I'm sorry, not Queen. The Lady of Winterfell. And Jon's just the commander of the army. Jon's just the brother. Whatever. Like, But, like... I thought, I think because he's still considered a bastard. Plus, he came back from the dead, but hey, no one cares about that. Yeah, I mean, I thought it was, I was not a fan of it. And yes, Jon is a shitty fucking general in this show.
I mean, like,
apparently.
I know they've showed like his plans at the.
He really regressed from the wall, man.
Yeah, he was really good on the wall, and he's not doing like.
I can't get over it. Like they just go all this like, oh no, just like fucking patriot, like just all these just like riding straight for the foe. I don't care what happens. Anywho, but no, I thought it was really cool. I mean, I thought it would have been very cool to have Sansa like kind of pull a little 180 on Littlefinger, because she already rejected the shit out of him, and he's already giving her all these like creepy stares in the corner. It would have been fun to like see them, take it up another notch and make her the Lady of Winterfell, and actually like kind of root for her, and just for a change, but in a good way, because then we do have a little bit more of a clear picture as to what she's thinking. At the moment, it's just more confusion, and Jon just basically gets, voted the Lord Commander again, another redo, and he's still a bastard who came back to life, who's been, rumored to be a wildling lover. Like it, I just wasn't a fan of the direction. But hey, you needed a final moment of cheering, I guess.
Well, yeah, wouldn't Queen of the North been? I mean, here's the thing, like
it would have been better.
Like every other seat of power in the world is led by a woman right now, and that would have been a nice thematic cap on top of that.
It would have been a fantastic, yes.
Like, Cersei is in charge in King's Landing. Daenerys is in charge. Even
she's on her way west.
Like, the Sand Snake chicks are in charge down in Dorne. Yeah. The leader of of the Tyrells right now is the Queen of Thorns, even though I don't think that's how succession works there either. She would not be in charge. But like every big, even Mormont is led by the little girl. Like that just it's to me it's so obvious. Like it's like sometimes ideas like that just fit perfectly into what you're trying to accomplish elsewhere, and putting her in charge would have just been perfect. And it would have been great for her arc too, because like she was this this weak, frail person who couldn't handle the world, now has just been put in the seat of power because over the course of all these experiences she's learned how to be a tough, strong person. I don't know.
And hey, maybe they are. I mean, maybe like what Cyndee said, maybe they are just slow playing it. They decided to, hey, 8th episode, we're writing the 8th episode. Let's really just let's decide to keep her mysterious and see what this little finger thing in the north turns into. I don't know. I really don't have a reason.
Yeah, well, okay.
I'm not really sure.
Here's the thing. There are 13 episodes of Game of Thrones left.
I know.
13.
I thought it was 15.
They said today 13.
7 and 6.
What?
Yeah.
Yeah. 7 next season, 6 last.
So at some point, we got to stop playing these games, the Game of Thrones, and start fighting ice monsters. Like, how much more manipulation and power struggle is there going to go on in the North?
That's the whole point.
But
like, just fighting ice monsters is going to get boring after a while. We can't do too many episodes of that.
But the whole thing is, I think the whole point of the thing is the infighting and the struggle and the Game of Thrones only serves to destroy and weaken you when the real bad things in the world, like death incarnate, are coming for you. And this infighting, this squabbling, this war is a waste of time, and only serves to hurt you further when the actual evil things in the world come for you.
Yeah.
And so it's time for the evil things in the world to come for you. The whole Westeros is fucked. Like the whole place, she just blew up half of King's Landing. Cersei did. Like,
yeah.
I don't know. I think we're in the last act now. We have to start moving towards that. And as much as I love the political squabbling, you're right. It makes for good TV. It's entertaining. We got to start moving towards the end game. I really think that.
I mean, yeah, it's just logistics. They just kind of have to. I think they'll make it interesting. I mean, well, I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what happens because I mean, there's only like one direwolf left, a couple dragons,
maybe 2.
Maybe
well,
2.
There's 2
direwolves. Oh yeah,
Nymeria.
Nymeria's around. Yeah, I mean, it's going to be interesting. I mean, I did think. I mean, they should. I think that would have been a cool stamp to have Sansa, get voted, because I thought it was cool to have all like the women, by the end of the season. It was interesting. It's going to be interesting, it's going to be an army led by these ladies against, a queen who's no longer a regent. She's just a straight up badass queen who just like, just basically just burned her sons. Like, whatever, just fucking burn him. I'm gonna be queen. Like, I mean, I think it'll be interesting for a little while, but yeah, I can't imagine them just going like straight up Walking Dead,
Well, no, I don't think so.
I mean, it'll be sprinkled here and there.
We said that the whole theme of the season was girl power, and with that ending and declaring for Jon, it almost felt like instead of the Spice Girls, it was like the Backstreet Boys.
Whatever. I mean, I don't know. I don't think every leader needs to be a woman. Like, the fact that there's so many is great, but
it's just funny how it worked out that way.
Yeah.
In the show so far.
I mean, it's pretty clear that Jon is one of the key people in the final battle, so
yeah. And Tyrion.
I don't have a problem with it. I think, I don't know, but him and Daenerys definitely.
Well, Tyrion's like a master like tactician battle, I think, and plus,
Man, we didn't even. It's so funny. We're an hour and 15 minutes. We haven't touched on Dany or Tyrion at all.
I know. Well, there wasn't much of it actually.
Dany left Marine. Thank Christ. I never want to see. I never want to see Marine again for as long as
I know. Like, you guys are mad because it felt like jumping ahead too far, but do we really want any more episodes in Marine waiting for Varys to come back? No.
Well, no.
So let's just go with it.
Yeah, I mean that Scott's on an island on his own about Marine. Or
Wait, what?
No.
I hate Marine.
not. I'm saying right, and I don't hate. I mean, I hate Marine in the show, but not in general.
I hate Marine. It's terrible. I hate
In the
Marine in
show,
the books. I hate Marine
like,
in the show.
I think
I wasn't a
it's
huge
just
fan of the
hard
show
to
because they
get-
just didn't really know what there was just nothing to do. They just didn't
yeah,
really have
it's hard to
anything
get
do.
emotionally engaged in Marine. Like
Yeah.
we don't know anyone there except Dany and the people under her. Like
Yeah.
I don't know.
Oh, you know
It's
what?
not relevant to everything else.
I just remembered. The Pit, was that the last episode of last season?
When she flew away on Drogon?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, I think that was probably my favorite last episode. Full show. Sorry, I just randomly remembered that because we're on Marine now. But yeah, no, we didn't really talk about that or Bran Beyond the Wall or any of that.
Okay, I don't know what they're doing with this time travel.
I know. But should we talk about that over Marine? Because I feel like really nothing happened in Marine, and now they're just leaving.
Okay, Cyndee, do you like the time travel bullshit?
It depends on what they do with it. I mean, they have to be careful writing about stuff like that. But I found Bran's storyline interesting. Obviously, I like the Tower of Joy stuff.
Yeah.
The Hodor was confusing, but I had no idea what was going on during that part. But I don't know. Like I think that goes into the magic at the heart of this, and so it's really interesting. But they need to be careful to come up with.
Yeah, it's getting very lost, Yen.
If that was the first and only instance of time manipulation stuff, I'd be okay with it. But I just have a sneaking suspicion it's only the beginning. I don't know. I don't know.
I'm not a fan of it. I'm just not a fan. I like that he can see, and that's great. I think it's obviously always been a part of the story. I don't like influencing the past. I'm just not a fan. Like I just don't know. I don't know. I mean, like if you do it right in the books, that's one thing, but in the show, I just don't think they can pull something like that off. So I hope they stay away from it.
But they're not gonna. They'll be back.
Probably not.
I promise you it'll be back.
But you know, the wall didn't fall, so we were off on that. And Cold Hands, I guess, Uncle Benjen. Cold Uncle Benjen's gone.
He doesn't matter at all.
He doesn't matter at all. So we got Mira's dragging Bran in the snow.
Is it fucked up that he took the horse with him when there's a
I
crippled
know.
boy?
I was thinking the same thing. Like, how do you expect him to go?
No, Ghost is on the other side of the wall. He's going to come save him.
Oh, okay.
Hold on. Because that's really John, remember?
He's like, here, I'm just going to lean you against this tree and I'm going to gallop away on my horse. Good luck with the walking.
Oh, jeez. Oh, no. So, yeah, I don't know. I mean, the Hodor episode is really sad and everything, and it was just like a sad way to see, it was obviously probably like the saddest character getting, character end, but yeah, no. I mean, no clue what they're going to be able to do.
Yeah, well, like the weird thing about that is it was kind of shown to paint Bran as kind of a dick in this moment because it's his fault.
It was horrible. Yeah,
but then he doesn't really suffer any consequences of it, right? Like,
no.
I feel like I've said that multiple times during this episode that I feel like characters do bad things and are not like there's no dramatic consequence to it, and maybe they're just waiting for later. I don't know. I just want to see it. I want to see if you do something bad, like something will happen to you because of that.
Did he even know what he was doing?
I mean, there's a look of realization. Like, in his panic, he reached out to Hodor and caused everything that happened.
Yeah, because I think Bloodraven's, like, supposed to be telling him, or, like, told, like when he uploaded the last of the information, I think that was him, like, telling him what to do, but I honestly don't know. I don't know.
But that
it's kind of hard to tell. It's kind of just
But, of course, you're dealing with time travel, so then you can always argue that what was going to happen was always going to happen, and there's nothing you can do because it's blah, 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 time paradox bullshit.
I mean,
I hate time travel.
When you mix time travel with an action sequence, like there's a lot of room for error. So yeah,
The
I don't
best
know.
part of time travel stories minimize the actual time travel part as much as possible because it is drama killing. Because if you stop and think about time travel in any kind of detail, it stops making sense.
Yeah, it sure lost.
Yeah.
Um,
Even Terminator. Terminator just says, okay, they can go back in time, and really doesn't stress much else besides that until the
Yeah.
later ones, which is why they're terrible.
which is why they're so bad.
Anyway, we're running out of time. Cyndee, is there anything you want to say before we go about Game of Thrones season 6?
I just want to say that even in the bad parts, it's still the best show on TV, and
Well, I don't agree with that.
I love
but
it.
It's really good.
Just I don't know. It feels like a movie, but it has like the depth and the character development that you can only get from a TV show. It's just amazing.
Okay.
And I'm nervous because I do feel like they made some missteps when they're going off book, but what I like and what I think is good is that they're moving towards an endpoint. They know what the endpoint's going to be. And unlike most TV shows, they're not going to get stuck trying to milk the cash cow and keep putting in more stupid filler.
Thanks.
Lost.
Yeah, and unlike TV shows like Lost and a lot of TV shows where they start out the show, they have absolutely no idea where it's going. So they're just making it up as they go along, and it doesn't make any sense at all. So my hope is that since they have an outline and an endpoint, that it will make sense.
How did the John's parents reveal work for you?
Oh yeah, how much of a surprise was that for you?
It
Or
wasn't
was it a
at
surprise?
all,
Okay.
because I had heard that. I mean, first of all, the scene. I think Littlefinger was showing Sansa
Yeah,
the
statues.
statue, and then I think my husband told me like they think that that's John's parents. So I've known pretty much since then, and I thought it was pretty obvious.
Yeah, if you read the books, it's very obvious. Just the way it's discussed and telegraphed.
The thing I wanted to say about that is I was looking up, like trying to figure out what she was saying, and you said the part where he said his name is unintelligible. Like you said, oh, it's John, but like people have been lip reading and they said he definitely didn't say John. I read a thread on Reddit by a deaf person that said it was definitely 2 syllables, and they think it's Eris. Which why would he name his kid after the Mad King? But whatever.
I thought I had heard that he had said Robert, or like that she had said, Robert won't let him live.
Yeah.
No, she did say that, but the first thing she said was his name is, and then it went silent.
Okay,
hear
so
it.
the actual name.
All you could do was read her lips.
And I turned on closed captioning, and all it says is whispers. I was like, screw you, closed captioning.
Yeah, they're trying to.
You're positive they said it was 2 syllables?
And I actually looked
Yes.
back at that, and you're right. It does very much seem like she's not saying John. Now, what that means, I mean,
I said Jon Snow.
They cut from the baby. Well, why would she say his name is John, bastard last name? That wouldn't make any sense.
Because she's. I know. That was a joke.
But so it was.
I think it's a Targaryen name, which is why he didn't use that name. Like,
yeah, I mean
John.
that would make sense.
Yeah.
But it just, the weird part was me is how much like they wanted to keep things a mystery. Like they cut from the baby to John. It's definitely John. Like
yeah.
But they still wanted to keep the father secret. Like technically, we haven't been told who the father is. Technically, we know that.
I guess they're just hoping for viewers who don't ever read anything about the series, who just watch it. Yeah.
I mean, like
no, I mean, yeah, and also even for those that do know, to talk about it like this, because the more you talk about it, the more you want to see it.
Yeah.
Well, it's just
when
Benioff
and Weiss took the job, in order to take it, George asked them who John's parents were. and they answered the question correctly, and that's part of the reason why he said yes with them. So it's gonna be Rhaegar and Lyanna. Like, that's just who it's gonna be.
Yeah.
And I don't.
We could probably figure out the name if it's Targaryen, honestly. I mean, there's not a whole shit
the
ton
lip reading deaf person said they thought it was Aerys. And some people were like, no, it's Jaehaerys. But she's like, no, there's no J. It's not 3 syllables. Like, it's...
Yeah.
It's 2 syllables.
I would be surprised if it was Aerys, because I just don't feel like they'd name him after, especially like what the dad caused, and
I know.
Pretty much hated Rhaegar at that point, or he didn't trust his own son. So I'd imagine Rhaegar wasn't a big fan of him either. But yeah, I mean, that could be it.
But why do it that way? Like, unless they're just drawing out the reveal. I don't understand.
Probably.
That's probably what it is.
Okay.
Probably it is, yeah.
Well, all right. That's Game of Thrones season 6.
It could be Aemon, like the Dragon Knight.
I don't think so.
I don't know. They said it.
Because there was already
the
an
shape
Aegon.
the lips were not making was not like, because some people put forth Aemon, but
Okay. I mean, because there's no, like, it couldn't be Aegon, that's his other son. It's probably not Viserys, that's his younger brother. It's probably not, I wouldn't think it's Aerys, because his dad's fucking crazy. And there's just not a whole lot, I mean, if it's not Jaehaerys, like, there's just not a whole lot of other famous Targaryen names that are out there that are 2 syllables.
I just don't think it matters, and that's my problem with it.
No, it doesn't matter. I'm just having fun with it.
So why not just have her say, like, I don't get...
Oh, you're saying, like, from the show's perspective?
Yeah.
Like, why not just... Oh, I agree. I was actually kind of surprised. I didn't even realize that this was a topic of conversation. That's why I'm so giddy talking about it. But, yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. But, so that's season 6. We will probably be back for season 7, Gentry, to talk about it more, because as much as I'm critical of the show, and I want to stress that over and over again to people,
yeah,
I'm critical because I love it, and I want it to be the best show it can be. I really do. Mm-hmm. And, like, I am critical of everything that I love, way more than I'm critical of things that I don't like. And I hope that season 7 can be great. I have faith in these showrunners. I have faith in the directors. This is far and beyond the best directed show I've ever seen, with maybe the exception of Breaking Bad, because that was such a well-directed show. But I love Game of Thrones. I love it. And so don't get bent out of shape when I say bad things about it, because it comes from a place of love.
I just think you judge it by a different standard. I mean, if you compare it to other TV shows, like, I watch other TV shows and it's just full of tropes and it's predictable.
Well, you watch a lot of bad television, Cyndee. So
whatever.
All the shows you watch with Mom are just garbage. It's garbage TV.
God. I want to hear some of these shows after the pod ends.
All right.
But what about my last thoughts?
You go. I was about to say, Gentry.
Oh, okay.
I was going to pivot.
Okay. Oh, pivot. No, yeah. I mean, honestly, like, I think it's just fun for me now. Like, it's just a fun experience. I'll definitely, like, I'm obviously been a little critical as well, but yeah. I mean, hey, whatever. We like TV, and we like film, and we like, like, I mean, huge fan of the story in general, and obviously, it's kind of hard to watch something without having everything else in the background. But I think I've come a long way in being able to, like, accept the differences and accept the show for what it is, and I've enjoyed it for what it is. I definitely think this season had more dark spots, I guess, or splotches of just
poop,
whether it was silly or just bad writing. But it also had some really good moments, some moments that I think I'm going to enjoy better than anything I saw in maybe season 2, other than the Blackwater episode, or anything that I really saw in season 4. It definitely had, I mean, it, from the battle and the last episode to the Hodor episode and the Tower of Joy and everything in between. I thought, there's definitely some moments there. I think the actors are definitely on another level now, almost to where they've just kind of assimilated to these characters in a way that's so natural. I'm just really impressed, and it's exciting that they continue to keep the budget high enough to make it look nice. And I have to give major props to the music and the backdrops, because holy shit, many of these settings have outdone my imagination to its fullest. I never thought I would enjoy seeing River Run or Horn Hill or Old Town, but they're beautiful. And if anything, I can appreciate all the work that they put into it. And I'm excited for 7. I'm just keeping in terms of the story, I'm just keeping my expectations very low. And I'm just going to continue to have fun with it and hope that some of my favorite characters, make it to season 8. So,
Do you know the top 5 get $500,000 an episode each next year?
I do. Yeah.
That's insane.
We can't spoil it for anybody, but yes.
Insane.
Not really. I mean, all the cast of Friends was making $1 million an episode in the
it doesn't
90s.
surprise me. Yeah, it really doesn't.
Yeah,
Not
but,
in 2016.
But Friends was a much cheaper show to produce. Cast was the most expensive part of Friends. Casting is not the most expensive part of Game of Thrones. So
True.
The fact that they're top 5 actors, that's $2.5 million an episode. On top of all the other expenses they have. This show costs so much money to make. That's why I don't think you're going to see HBO complaining with the fact that there's only 13 more episodes.
Nope.
They definitely don't.
But this is like their flagship show.
Yeah, but they still, like, you want to go out on your high point, not on your low point, especially with the show that costs
I agree.
This much money to produce.
I'm glad they're not drawing it out, but
No, they can't. That'd be crazy.
But they're going to be, I don't know what they're going to replace it with, because
Westworld. Have you seen the preview for that? It looks so good.
Westworld, and I think they are going to do a spin-off of Dunk and Egg, is what I'm hearing.
Yeah, they're probably going to do Westeros spin-offs into forever.
What?
There's so many.
I hope not, but I think it would be
really
cool
hope
to see Dunk and
Egg. There's too much money in it. It's going to happen.
I really want to see an animated series.
So question. Does Winds of Winter come out before April 2017?
No.
I'm still going to say yes.
Oh, Gentry, you and your eternal optimism.
Well, I know, but it's only because I can't just go back on my prediction of a announcement at the end of the summer of the publishing date, and that date being spring of 17.
So most books come out in the fall. Fall is the big release time for books. So if it was coming out this fall, they would be announcing it any day now. So
I don't think it'll be this fall.
It's not going to be this fall.
It's definitely not going to be this fall.
Books come out in the spring.
Hey, Scott, I'm pretty sure you predicted the last episode he was going to announce.
Yeah, I was wrong, okay?
Okay, just making sure we got that out there.
I'm not perfect.
Hey, no. Whatever. He can write as long as he needs to. I don't give a shit. Just keep on going, George, please.
Yeah. If it needs another year to make it as good as it can be.
I'm a very patient person, and I honestly don't care how long it takes. If it gets done, let's do it. But let's see what season 7 brings. It's gonna be the war of the ladies. The White Walkers.
The War of the Ladies. That's what the first episode's gonna be called. All right. So that's Game of Thrones. We're way over time, so let's move on to what we've been watching, and let's be really brief about this. Cyndee, what have you been watching, or in your case, reading?
So I haven't had much time to watch anything the past month because my book club was reading the last book in the Passage trilogy, and I had to read the whole trilogy. And so that's what I've been reading, The Passage by Justin Cronin. It is a trilogy very much in the line of The Stand, except it is about a vampire apocalypse. And it's actually pretty good, despite that. Compared to Game of Thrones, it's much more conventional good versus evil story. And there's a lot of flaws in it, but it was entertaining.
Hey. That's good.
Is it YA fiction or is it an adult
No,
book?
It is adult fiction, and it's very violent. And actually, the interesting thing about this book series is the first book came out in 2010, and they actually sold the movie rights in 2007.
That actually happens a lot more than you'd think.
3 years before the book came out. And they're pretty long books, so now they're saying they're going to turn it into a miniseries. But the problem is Fox owns the rights, which this book does not belong on network TV. So we were talking about how we wish HBO would do it because they would do a much better job. But
Cool. I'll check that one out.
the first part's really, really creepy.
Gentry, you can read those while waiting for Winds of Winter to come out next year.
Yeah, my list's pretty long.
Gentry, what have you been watching?
Yeah, so I mean, I'll keep this short. I went to go see Conjuring 2. I'll put it this way: if you loved Annabelle, you're gonna love Conjuring 2.
Did people love Annabelle?
No, it's horrible. If you hated Annabelle, you're gonna love Conjuring 2.
Wait.
No, it's a good movie. I mean, I was a fan of the first one. I just like those things are interesting to me, I guess, when it comes to kind of like the demonic possessions and the supernatural, and I think the Ed and Lorraine Warren, I think they kind of make the movies. Without them, the movies wouldn't be good. I think they have great chemistry together. If anything, you should go see the movie. I mean, if you're into seeing scary movies or horror thrillers, supernatural thrillers, I think you should see it. If anything, just to see their chemistry on screen, because I think it's great. And I think I don't know her name, but the child actress that was in this movie, I thought did a wonderful job. It's the same old jump scare type of stuff, but I will give them, the aesthetics of the way the demon looked were pretty creepy. Definitely hit the spot for sure. So if anything, I thought that was great. But overall, just a fun, scary movie to see.
James, how would you feel if I told you they're doing a spin-off of the Nun character and they're gonna have a movie called The Nun?
Are they really?
Yes.
It's called The Nun?
I think so.
Oh my gosh, damn it. They're gonna ruin it.
So I haven't seen Conjuring 2, but I want to. I did see Conjuring 1, and I did like it a lot. I think the interesting part is Ed and Lorraine Warren have been more or less completely debunked as frauds. The Amityville horror that they're most famous for has been basically completely 100% disproven as not happening at all the way they said it did. But yet, I enjoyed the characters anyway, even though I knew it's all bullshit. But Conjuring was a good movie. I want to see Conjuring 2. My girlfriend doesn't like scary movies, so I have to go to those by myself.
Good luck with that. No. And what about yours, Scott?
So I've seen quite a lot recently, but I'll only talk about a couple of them. I saw Finding Dory. I liked it. I didn't love it. It's not as good as Finding Nemo. It is not even close to Pixar's masterpiece, which is still Inside Out. I'm surprised it's earning as much money as it is, but then again, people love it. People love Nemo, and all the kids want to go see this movie. So, it's a movie that's basically about living with a mental disability, and that's a really dark and complicated topic for a kids movie. And it's kind of weird to me that while it's talking about this, it's also constantly making fun of the main character for her mental disability. So it skirts this line of inappropriateness throughout the whole movie, but it does it deftly, I guess. I don't know. I really want to sit down and think about this movie for a long time because it accomplishes a lot of good stuff, but there's some real bad stuff in there too. So if you haven't seen it yet, I don't know why. I think everyone that wants to see this movie has seen it already. So
yeah.
I don't know. The other movie I saw was another fish movie, The Shallows, which you talked about at the beginning of the podcast. This movie is great. This is the best shark movie since Jaws.
Dang.
It is not better than Jaws, but what is better than
Better
Jaws?
than Deep Blue Sea?
Yes. quite easily better than Deep Blue Sea.
Open water? No.
Yes.
Just kidding. My point is, there's not very good movies.
Yeah,
good shark movies.
I understand that's a very low bar. Like, the only good shark movie has been Jaws.
That is saying a lot, though,
So,
actually.
yeah.
Since John, it's been a long time.
It's just so well done, and it borrows a lot of camera techniques and pacing techniques and stuff from Jaws. You don't see the shark very much until the end of the movie. It's very well done. It's well written. I mean, there's metaphors with the shark going on here and the main character that are pretty on the nose, but they still work. It's a very simple script, but effective. The main character, Nancy, is someone who she's at this beach because her mother died of cancer, and she dropped out of med school and found the beach that her mother went to when she was pregnant with her. And her whole thing is she doesn't see the point in fighting because it all leads up to death anyway. So you can see the metaphor carry over into suddenly she's fighting for her life against the shark. But it's done really well. It's done really well. Blake Lively's great. The shark looks great.
Yeah.
Considering the budget. The only thing that looks bad is when Blake Lively's surfing, they did facial replacement on the stunt person that was doing the surfing and put Blake Lively's face on it, and it looks terrible, like almost laughably bad. I guess they spent all their effects budget on the shark and didn't have anything left over for that. It's just not good work. But I mean, everything else, it's really well paced. It's a short movie. It's an hour and a half. It's worth seeing. My girlfriend was stressed out the entire time.
Oh God, I'll be.
Yeah. Great movie.
I'll do well with sharks. Well, cool.
Right.
Thanks, man.
Yeah. So that's it for us this week. We went way long, but that's fine because we had to talk about an entire 10 hours of television.
Yeah, we didn't even hit everything.
No,
that just goes to show how much Game of Thrones has to offer.
Which it does. Next week, I don't know what we're doing. We'll figure it out. Gentry, I'm probably going to ask you to come back and fill in for Matt again because he's still probably not going to be back. But
yeah, I was happy to, man.
We will do something and it will be fun. It's going to be the week of July 4th, so maybe we'll do something Independence Day related.
Woo!
Maybe
we'll talk about action.
Maybe we'll talk about Resurgence.
Hey, maybe you can talk about Michael Bay and how much you love his movies.
That's not entirely true.
I know.
All right, Gentry, where can you be found on the internet?
You can find me at Wench Tweet, just the way it sounds, as always, or just obviously Daily Planet stuff.
And Cyndee, are you writing any new book reviews for us?
I don't know.
Write some new book reviews for us, Cyndee.
Maybe.
I confront you while we're on the air, so you have to answer. This strategy is not working. Okay. Well, when Cyndee writes some new book reviews, they will be also at the Daily Planet. You can find me on Twitter at ScottDaily85. That's DALY. Also, you can follow our website Twitter at Daily Planet Films. You'll see all the new posts we put up there. Or you can just go to dailyplanetfilms.com. You can email us. This is a long list of stuff at dailyplanetfilms@gmail.com with some suggestions or questions or anything. If you disagree with our thoughts on Game of Thrones, if I pissed you off during the course of this podcast, send us an email. And if you want to support what we do and want to help us do it, more of it, you can support us on Patreon. You can give $1 a month or anything else you can spare. It'll allow us to do some great new stuff. Gentry, I haven't even let you in on some of the plans we have, but Matt and I have plans. We have a lot of plans that I don't want to spoil, but
excited to hear these plans.
Yeah. Well, if people give some money on Patreon, we can make these plans happen.
All right, folks, come on, hey,
because they
$1.
cost money.
That's a fifth or a sixth of your lunch a month. That's nothing.
I'll click on some ads for you.
You spend $6 a month on lunch?
No, a day. But I meant like $1 a month. Because Patreon's only $1 a month, right?
It's however much you want to give. If you want to give recurring, if you want to give one time, it's whatever you want to do.
Usually monthly.
Yeah. So that's all we had for this week. Matt, we miss you and can't wait till you come back. But congratulations on the baby.
Yes.
And for
congratulations,
else,
Matthew.
We will see you next week.
The podcast is over. It's done. We hope you all had some fun. Go back to your work or your school. Maybe the gym. Hey, that's cool. Regardless, just go away. But please come back next Friday. There'll be a brand new podcast for free.